What's good with it, Duval? It's your boy UCF Jaguar report on GenJag.com, and the draft is 3 days away, and I've yet to come out with a mock draft. So here's a video where I'm going to do a whole first round mock, going to go through all 32 picks, and I hope you like it, and let's get it. Alright, so Cleveland Browns possess the #1 overall pick, and I think this one's pretty obvious, but I think there's 31 teams in the NFL that would pick Myles Garrett, but Cleveland is the only outlier, so I really hope they don't wind up taking the quarterback here and they go with a good choice to get Myles Garrett. Guy's got the most potential. I think he's one of 2 elite prospects in the draft, so they got to get this guy. Now with the #2 overall pick, I have the 49ers selecting Solomon Thomas, the defensive tackle out of Stanford. I think he's going to be the best available player on the board, and 49ers have a lot of holes they got to fill in that team, so just go ahead and take the best available player, play him at that 3 technique, and hopefully he can turn into an Aaron Donald or Jared McCoy. Now #3, the Bears have the pick, and this one's an interesting one just because the Bears can really go in all sorts of directions. I mean, they have needs at D-line, so maybe they go get a guy like Jonathan Allen. They have needs at cornerback. They have needs at safety. But I've got him taking Jamal Adams because I think he's the safer pick out of say Marshawn Lattimore or Malik Hooker just because of his injury history. Bears have had kind of some bad luck with drafting these guys that are getting injured, and both those guys at Ohio State both have injury history. So I think to go with Jamal Adams, a good playmaker, plug and play. I think he'd be the best pick for the Bears. Now, #4, we got Duval with the pick. I think the Jaguars go Leonard Fournette. I've been telling you guys that all along, so I think he's one of 2 elite prospects in this draft along with Myles Garrett. So I think get him in here, get some pressure off Blake, try to get a run game that we haven't had since Maurice Jones-Drew. Now, with the next pick is the Titans, who those bastards acquired this pick from the Rams via that Jared Goff trade, so they're cashing in on this pick. And their biggest needs are cornerback and wide receiver, so I got them taking Marshawn Lattimore, the cornerback out of Ohio State. I mean, he just makes the most sense with this pick, especially the Titans tried to go aggressively at A.J. Boye, but our boys got him. And also, they just let go of their dude, that McCourty guy, their cornerback over there. So, it's really opening up nicely for them to really select this guy at the #5 pick. And now we're at pick #6, and I have the New York Jets selecting Malik Hooker, the safety out of Ohio State. Now, like I said earlier, I think Malik Hooker is actually a little better than Jamal Adams just because he possesses a really rare quality where he has the most potential to be a sideline-to-sideline player, and that's what teams dream of, to be able to have that free safety back there that's also a ball hawk that makes sure no big plays gets behind them. And, I think that's really the best pick for the Jets, especially being that Todd Bowles, their head coach, was the former defensive back coach, and I think also defensive coordinator over on the Arizona Cardinals. So, he likes playing with those defensive backs, so I see that being the best fit for Malik Hooker. And next up at pick #7, we have the San Diego Chargers selecting wide receiver Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis is the best wide receiver prospect in this draft, and also the Chargers, they're in need to give Phillip Rivers some more wide receivers. He's ending the end of his career. They really haven't given him much help while he's been there, and he's just been so committed to this team. So even if Keenan Allen was coming back healthy, they still need to get that other playmaker for him. So they drafted a pretty good tight end in the 2nd round of the draft last year. So give this dude another playmaking wide receiver to try to also give a new spark to their new LA fan base, getting a more sexy pick there. And yeah, with that said, next up we have the #8 pick, and I have the Carolina Panthers stealing Jonathan Allen. I think they go best available player here, and that's what he is. And their head coach over there, he's a big defensive guy, so I don't think they go running back this high. given the value of the prospects there right now. They'll be able to wait till the second round to really get a guy, but I think they get the value pick. They select Jonathan Allen, and Jonathan Allen is going a little late in my mock, but I think he has a similar slide that Leonard Fournette had. Not Leonard Fournette, but Leonard Williams had in 2015, where teams were just selecting. He kind of fell just not because of his ability, but more fell because of other teams having higher needs at that point. So, I got the Carolina Panthers selecting Jonathan Allen, the defensive lineman from Alabama. Now with the number 9 pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, I have selecting Derek Barnett, the defensive end out of Tennessee. I think Derek Barnett's one of the more underrated guys in this draft. He's a really good defensive, end rusher, and he really lit the SEC on fire this year, these last couple of years when he's been playing. And if there's one guy that the Jaguars would reach for, I would see Derek Barnett. Not that it's going to be happening, but if I'm just projecting one guy that the Jaguars may reach for, would probably be him. Now with the number 10 overall pick, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Reuben Foster, the linebacker out of Alabama. Now I know a lot of y'all are going to be coming at me being like, oh, what about the P-test and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. I don't really think all that's going to matter, to be honest with you, when it's all said and done. But we'll see if I look like an idiot and he actually does drop the round 2, like a lot of these, pro guys are projecting. But I think he winds up being on the Bills. They get a really good linebacker added to their team, and they're going to roll with that pick. And next up, I have at the number 11 overall pick, I have the New Orleans Saints selecting Malik McDowell, the defensive end out of Michigan State. And Malik McDowell, I really like this guy, man. I think he could also be a guy that could maybe go in the top 6, top 7, just because he has the most ability to really be able to play all over the defensive line. I mean, he kind of creates havoc wherever he lines up. He's a pretty quick guy out the ball, and just has an animal-like motor. So I think the Saints will get a really good value out of Malik McDowell if he's available at this spot. And next up, we have the Cleveland Browns again with the number 12 overall pick that they acquired through the Eagles trade when the Eagles acquired Carson Wentz with the number 2 overall pick. And ironically enough, with that number 12 overall pick, they're going to get a quarterback in Mitch Trubisky. And shout out to Crazy Dog, he's a big Browns fan. But yeah, I got them going to quarterback, the first quarterback off the board. I'm not sure if it's very likely that will be the first pick a quarterback will be taken, but because I think there's a really good chance that maybe the Bills select a guy or maybe a trade up, but I'm not doing trades in my draft. But yeah, Mr. Trubisky, I think he's the best quarterback prospect in this draft. I think he has the highest potential. I mean, he almost looks like Aaron Rodgers at times, but I got them picking Mr. Trubisky, getting the top quarterback out the draft, and maybe trying to solve their long quarterback drought that's been going on over there in Cleveland. And then with the 13 overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals go back-to-back quarterbacks and pick Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback out of Texas Tech. Now, Mahomes has been one of the quarterbacks that's been rising a lot of draft boards lately, and the word is that he's really the perfect quarterback for Bruce Arians' system, and Bruce Arians really likes him and whatnot. So, with Carson Palmer only getting older, he might have, 2-3 years left at most. He might not even play this year at a high level. So they go with Patrick Mahomes, adds that quarterback depth chart, maybe introduce him halfway through a year or redshirt him a year, but I envision the Cardinals selecting him with that number 13 overall pick. Now next up, we have the 14 overall pick and the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out my dogs, Eagles, Speed, and Desert Eagle. I've got the Eagles selecting Dalvin Cook, the running back out of Florida State University. Now, I really don't understand why Dalvin Cook's dropping so much in all these mocks, and some people have him going as far as the second round. I mean, I put on his tape, and the dude's just a monster. I mean, he's so really physically gifted. I mean, he hits the holes. I don't know what his 40 time is, but he's got that game speed, that game quickness that you'd really dream of in a running back. So I've got the Eagles picking him with that number 14 pick. helping out their second-year quarterback, Carson Wentz, a little bit, and a playmaker to that offense. So, yeah. And next up, I have those ugly-ass Indianapolis Colts, and I've got them selecting Forrest Lamp, the left guard out of Western Kentucky. Now, Forrest Lamp, in my opinion, is the best offensive lineman in this draft. He's a guard, so it's not necessarily a premier position, so that's why he drops that low, but the dude's an animal. He's huge. He's very strong. I mean, he handled Alabama players when they played against him. He was playing against players like Jonathan Allen and Tim Williams and stuff like that, and he was able to pretty much dominate. So, Colts, unfortunately, get a good guy with that pick. If the Jaguars do wind up trading back, I could see him as a potential option because having him at left guard would be sick. But yeah, and with the number 16 overall pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Garyon Conley, another defensive back. He's a cornerback out of Ohio State. Now, the Ravens last year tried desperately to trade up to the Dallas's pick to jump the Jaguars to select Jalen Ramsey, but it didn't materialize for them, so they wound up picking Ronnie Stanley after Jalen Ramsey got selected. So I see them going cornerback. Gotta add to that group. They've had their eyes on cornerbacks for a while, and they really haven't gotten that player that they've been looking for yet. So they invested cornerback with their first round pick. So yeah, that's the first half of my mock draft. You can take a look at it on the screen. I think this is like my 6th mock draft I've really done. I've been trying to get a feel for the fan bases as well, so let me know what you think. So with the number 17 overall pick, I have the Washington Redskins selecting Haason Reddick, the defensive end out of Temple. They need to add a little bit to their defensive depth field, and you can never have too many pass rushers, so they get a good value in that guy. And with number 18 overall pick, the Tennessee Titans need wide receiver help, so they're going to draft Mike Williams. And next up is the Buccaneers at 19 overall, and they're going to select O.J. Howard, the tight end out of Alabama. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, or whatever his name was, he didn't really work out for the Bucs, and they've got a pretty young offense, and with Jameis Winston there, they want to give these guys as much help as they can. So add a tight end to that position, an elite tight end at that. This is a really good value to get him. He has a really good availability to block. He's got a really good knack to really catch the ball also. So that'd be a really good pick for the Bucs if he winds up falling that far. And next up, I have the Denver Broncos selecting Ryan Ramczyk, the guard out of Wisconsin. John Elway, he's a smart GM. He's just going to go out to the best available player, and that's going to be a lineman for them. Get them some help because they're probably going to have Paxton Lynch playing next year. They're going to have to probably rely on a run game because I don't know how well their quarterback game is going to be. So they're just going to go grab an offensive line with that pick. And next up, we've got the Lions taking, at number 21 overall, taking Taco Charlton. We forget that not long ago they had those basically twin towers in there with Ndamukong Suh and Fairley, the dude out of Auburn, but they really have Ansah there right now, not really much else. So get them some more pass rush help, get them defensive linemen. You can never have too many of them. I mean, you cycle those guys out all the time. So I got them taking that dude Taco. And next up is the Miami Dolphins, and at 22 overall, and I have them selecting Zach Cunningham, the linebacker out of Vanderbilt. Now, the Dolphins were really bad at linebacker last year, so this will be a really good value for them. He's a beast. He's the second best linebacker behind Foster, but it's a good range to pick a linebacker just since it's not necessarily a premier position. You don't really want to take one in the top 10, but they've got a good spot there to really grab one. So with the 23 overall pick, I have the New York Giants selecting David Njoku, the tight end out of the University of Miami. Njoku is the second best tight end in this draft behind O.J. Howard, but I know I've been talking to some Giants fans, and it just seems like they're saying that Njoku would be really the best fit over there. So I'm going kind of what I hear on that, and I'm gonna have them taking Njoku since he's still available. Now, with the 24 overall pick, I have the Oakland Raiders, shout out Ashcan, I have them selecting Tre'Davious White, the cornerback out of LSU. They really need some defensive help, especially on the back seven. They need linebackers, they need safeties, and they really need cornerbacks. So I think they go cornerback. It's a premier position. It's a position of need. Raiders are really going to be built to make a playoff run this year. So get the guy that will be able to line up on a receiver and lock him down with that pick to help maximize their defense's value. So next up with the 25th overall pick, the Houston Texans finally select the quarterback in the first round, and I got them grabbing Deshaun Watson, the quarterback out of Clemson. Now, everyone says that Deshaun Watson's probably the most pro-ready. I mean, he's that guy that's everyone has a lot of questions on, but, you know, a lot of people feel the most comfortable with him. I think a couple quarterbacks is better than him. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are, but I think he probably falls at the tail end of that first round. So, and then next up with the 26th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks will select Cam Robinson, the left tackle / guard out of Alabama. Seahawks, they've needed offensive line help for a while, so they go Cam Robinson. It's a good value pick there. So yeah. And then next up with the 27th overall pick, I had the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Jared Davis, the linebacker out of Florida. Now, last year, one of the reasons why the Jaguars moved up in the draft was because in the second round when they selected Miles Jack was because Kansas City, I guess, was trying to make a run at him as well. So they need linebacker help pretty desperately. They grabbed Jared Davis, really good playmaker. I think he'd be a good fit over there on the Chiefs. So next up with the 28th overall pick, I had the Dallas Cowboys selecting another Alabama dude and Marlon Humphrey, the cornerback over there. Now, the Cowboys made a questionable choice last year when they decided to select Ezekiel Elliott over Jalen Ramsey, but it looks like that's working out pretty decently for them. But they still have that hole at cornerback. They've actually need a lot of help on defense. Actually, their offense is actually pretty damn good, but they need some help on defense. They get a cornerback, bring cornerback into Jerry's world, and I think that'll be good for them. And then with the 29th overall pick, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting T.J. Watt, the defensive end out of Wisconsin. So yeah, I've got him staying in the state of Wisconsin, going to the Packers. I think it'd be a good fit. The guy's pretty good on the rush. He's related to J.J. Watt. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? But yeah, I think this guy will be a end of the first round kind of pick. And next up with the 30th overall pick, I had the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Budda Baker, the safety out of Washington. Now, I think the Steelers need a lot of help on defense, not necessarily offense, but just more help on defense. They get a playmaker, maybe a future Polamalu, who knows, but that's kind of reaching a little bit. But yeah, I think Budda Baker would be a good pick for him. Really pretty electrifying player. And then next up with the 31 overall pick, I have another Alabama guy going to the Atlanta Falcons and Tim Williams, their defensive lineman. Now, when Tom Coughlin beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice, he beat it through a great pass rush. I mean, he was able to really agitate Tom Brady all throughout the game. But one thing that you saw was the reason why Atlanta Falcons lost to the Patriots was because they had no pass rush able to get in there at the end of the game. So to put them over the top, they had some more pass rushers with some good juice. Maybe they would have won the Super Bowl. So I've got them going defensive line and Tim Williams, getting a good value in that guy. That guy could go, as early as the middle of the first round. So good value with that pick. And then with the 32 overall pick, I have the New Orleans Saints selecting Chidobe Owazi. I think he actually goes by Obi, but yeah, that's his name. He's a cornerback out of Colorado, and I think it'd be a good pick for them. This is their second pick in the first round. They got this via the Brandon Cooks trade. So they've just had such an awful defense these last few years. Get him some help at that cornerback spot. Try to lock down some of those good receivers in the NFC South between Julio Jones, Mike Evans. You got Kelvin Benjamin. So yeah, I got them selecting that guy, and they got a pretty good first round haul. But yeah, man, that's my first round mock. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully hopefully I got some of these right. I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot. All the experts get them wrong, so hopefully I get them all right. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, those are my picks. I didn't do any trades just because it's hard enough to project who the heck's gonna get drafted. I'm not gonna try to do these trade scenarios. But yeah, be sure to leave a like. Let me know what you think of your team. And yeah, be sure to check out genjag.com for all your latest Jaguar news. Draft is in 3 days. I'm hoping LF7 at 4. It's a little sign language for you. But yeah, that's who I'm hoping for. But we'll see what happens. Go Jaguars, and you guys take it easy.